Okay, child, y'all need to sit down for this one because Kendrick Lamar's camp is moving suspiciously quiet right now. And when Kendrick gets quiet, that's when you need to pay attention. 2 days before the 1-year anniversary of GNX, November 20th, 2025 to be exact, Electric Lady Studios posted a photo that sent the entire hip-hop world into a frenzy. And I'm not exaggerating, loves. Terrace Martin, Sounwave, Mustard, 3 of Kendrick's most deadly producers, all huddled together in the same legendary studio where GNX was created. The caption? Simply, Terrace, Sounwave, Mustard, Kendrick Lamar, GNX. And then Dave Free, Kendrick's right-hand man, the co-founder of PG Lang, the man who literally helps orchestrate every single move Kendrick makes, drops one word on Threads the next day. Just one word. Calm. Calm. Calm? Loves, nothing about this feels calm. All right, so let me give y'all the full picture here because this isn't just about one Instagram post or one cryptic word. This is about timing, strategic silence, and the fact that Kendrick Lamar doesn't do anything by accident. November 22nd, 2025 marked exactly 1 year since Kendrick surprise dropped GNX, an album that, by the way, just became the first hip-hop project to sell over 1 million units in 2025, despite being released in 2024. Let that sink in. And right now, as we speak, Kendrick is preparing for the final leg of his grand national tour. We're talking December 3rd through December 11th in Australia, Melbourne, and Sydney. These are the last shows, loves. The end of an era. The closing chapter of GNX. Now, word on the street is that major artists don't just end massive world tours without something. A statement, a surprise, a mic drop moment. And with Kendrick's entire inner circle suddenly resurfacing at Electric Lady Studios, with the Dave Free posting cryptic messages, with Baby Keem going radio silent for months. No, I know what y'all are thinking. Maybe they're just celebrating the anniversary. Sure, maybe. But here we go, loves. Let me break down why this might be way bigger than a simple celebration. Now, look, before you come at me in the comments saying you're reading too much into this or they're just hanging out, I hear you. Trust me, I do. Let's address the obvious objections real quick. First, people are saying the Electric Lady photo could be old. Maybe it's from when they originally recorded GNX back in 2024. Valid point. However, the studio specifically posted it on November 20th, 2025, right before the anniversary. Why post an old photo now unless something's happening? Studios don't randomly throw up your old content for no reason. Second objection, Dave Free's calm post doesn't mean anything. He was probably just vibing. Okay, but here's the thing. Dave Free isn't exactly known for random social media activity. This is the man who helped orchestrate one of the most secretive album roulettes in hip-hop history. When he posts, it's intentional. When he posts one word right before a major anniversary, that's a message, loves. Third, Kendrick's touring ends in December. He's probably just focused on that. True, absolutely true. But let me ask y'all this. When has Kendrick Lamar ever done the expat did? When has he ever followed the predictable path? This is the man who dropped Not Like Us in the middle of a rap beef and changed the entire game. This is the artist who, surprise, released GNX with zero warning. Kendrick doesn't end tours quietly. He doesn't let anniversaries pass by without acknowledgement. And he definitely doesn't have his entire production team reconvene at the studio where they made history for nothing. Anyway, let's move on to what we do know is happening. The Electric Lady Studios evidence. Okay, so let's zoom in on this Electric Lady Studios situation because this is where things get really interesting. On November 20th, 2025, exactly 2 days before GNX's 1-year anniversary, the official Electric Lady Studios Instagram account posts a photo. In that photo, Terrace Martin, Sounwave, and Mustard. All 3 men are Kendrick's go-to producers. These aren't random collaborators, loves. These are the architects of Kendrick's sound. Now, Electric Lady Studios isn't just any studio. This is the legendary space in New York where Jimi Hendrix recorded, where countless hip-hop classics were born. And notably, this is where GNX was partially recorded back in 2024. According to multiple sources, when GNX was being created, Kendrick logged himself in Electric Lady with this exact team for weeks. The energy was reportedly intense, focused, almost secretive. Fast forward to November 2025, the caption on the photo reads, Terrace, Sounwave, Mustard, Kendrick Lamar, GNX. Photo at Samantha J. Now, here's what caught my attention and what has fans spiraling in the comments. One user wrote, wonder if this was from May, when Kendrick was spotted outside the studio, smirk, and then added, I feel something special is coming very soon, cross fingers. May 2025. That's 7 months after GNX dropped. Why would Kendrick's producers be at Electric Lady Studios in May 2025, reportedly with Kendrick, if GNX was already finished and released? Unless they weren't there to celebrate, they were there to create. The producers speak, kind of. So, allegedly, and I'm using that word because none of them have officially confirmed this, there's been chatter online from multiple hip-hop commentary channels that these producers have been confirming new music is in the works. Just 3 days ago, a YouTube channel called The Hip Hop Wolf posted a video titled, Why Kendrick's Producer Just Said New Music Drops Soon. In that video, they claimed that Mustard, Sounwave, and Terrace Martin have been dropping hints about working on new Kendrick material. Now, I haven't seen direct quotes from the producers themselves saying, yes, new album coming, but the pattern of activity, the timing, the studio sessions. I mean, come on, connect the dots with me here. GNX's historic milestone. Let's talk about numbers for a second, because this matters. GNX, released November 22nd, 2024, hit a massive milestone. According to chart data reported in November 2025, it became the first hip-hop album to sell over 1 million units in 2025. Again, an album released in 2024 became the top-selling rap album of 2025. That's unprecedented, loves. That doesn't happen unless the album has serious legs, serious cultural impact, and serious momentum. And you know what artists do when an album is performing this well, when the demand is this high, when fans are still streaming and buying a year later? They capitalize on it. Deluxe editions, bonus tracks, extended rollouts. And that brings us to the rumors that have been swirling since December 2024. The GNX Deluxe whispers. Okay, so this is where things get into unconfirmed but very persistent territory. So, back in November 2024, just days after GNX dropped, reports started surfacing that Kendrick wasn't done with the project. According to OK Player, one of the collaborators on GNX allegedly said that Kendrick was not quite done with GNX's rollout. Then in December 24, a song called Money Without Me mysteriously appeared on Kendrick's YouTube channel. No announcement, no promotion, just there. Fans immediately speculated, is this a leftover GNX track? Is this the first taste of a deluxe edition? Now it's November 2025, and we're seeing the producers back in the studio, Dave Freeze posting cryptic messages. The timing lines up perfectly with the tour ending in December. What if, and hear me out, what if GNX was always meant to have a second chapter? What if the deluxe edition isn't just bonus tracks, but an entirely new artistic statement that drops right after the Australia tour wraps? Yikes, that would be very Kendrick.
Escalate intensity, more serious. All right, let's talk about Dave Free for a minute, because this man is the key to understanding what's really happening. For those who don't know, Dave Free is not just Kendrick's friend or manager. He's the co-founder of PG Lang, Kendrick's creative company and label. He's directed multiple Kendrick music videos. He's been by Kendrick's side since the very beginning. They're family. When Dave speaks, it matters. When Dave posts, it's intentional. And when Dave goes silent, that's when you should be most concerned. So here's what happened. On November 21st, 2025, one day before GNX's anniversary, Dave Free posted a single word on Threads. Calm. That's it. No context, no explanation, just calm. Now, fans immediately started dissecting this. Some said it was a vibe check, others thought he was trolling, but the majority of responses were along the lines of, "This is not calming at all, this feels like the calm before a storm." One fan on X, formerly Twitter, wrote, "Dave Free said calm on Thread before the GNX one-year anniversary with multiple exclamation points. The energy was not calm, loves. The energy was panic mixed with excitement." And honestly, I get it, because this isn't the first time Dave has done this. Remember back in November 2024, right before GNX dropped, Dave was silent on social media. Radio silent. No posts, no hints, nothing. And then bam, surprise album. When Dave goes quiet or posts vague, cryptic messages, history tells us that means something big is brewing. But wait, it gets deeper. The Baby Keem connection. Now, let's talk about Baby Keem, because he's directly connected to all of this, and his absence is loud. Baby Keem, for those who might not know, is Kendrick's younger cousin. He's also a critically acclaimed rapper in his own right. The two have collaborated multiple times, most famously on Family Ties, which won a Grammy. He also appeared on Kendrick's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers tour and album. But here's the thing. Baby Keem has been suspiciously quiet for months. No new music, no interviews, no major public appearances. His last significant activity was, honestly, I can't even remember when. And then in September 2025, Dave Free did an interview where he was asked about his favorite music right now. His response was, unreleased Baby Keem music. Unreleased. Not his own music, not Kendrick's music, unreleased Baby Keem material. Now, why would Dave Free, who is intimately involved with every aspect of PG Lang's releases, be listening to unreleased Baby Keem material in September 2025 unless something was being planned? Fans on Reddit immediately started theorizing. What if Baby Keem has been locked away working on his software album? What if he's preparing to drop right after Kendrick's Australia shows? What if this is a coordinated family takeover? And look, I don't know if that's true, but the fact that Dave specifically mentioned unreleased Keem music, combined with Keem's extended absence, combined with all this other activity around Kendrick, honestly, it tracks. It makes sense. And if I'm being real with y'all, it would be very on brand for PG Lang to orchestrate a double surprise drop. The Australia shows, the final battleground. Let's talk about Australia for a second, because the significance of these shows cannot be overstated. Kendrick's Grand National Tour has been massive. It started back in April 2025 in Minneapolis and spanned North America, Europe, and now it wraps up in Australia this December. The final shows are December 3rd, Melbourne, AAMI Park with Schoolie Boy. December 4th, Melbourne, AAMI Park with Doechii. December 10th, Sydney, Allianz Stadium with Schoolie Boy. December 11th, Sydney, Allianz Stadium with Doechii. December 11th is the final show, the last performance of the entire Grand National Tour era. Now think about this. Kendrick hasn't performed in Australia since December 2022 during the Big Steppers tour. Australian fans have been waiting! The anticipation is through the roof. So do you really think Kendrick, the same artist who brought out surprise guests at every major tour stop, is going to end his entire world tour in Australia without some kind of major moment? At his usual shows earlier this year, he performed unreleased tracks. He brought out unexpected collaborators. He created viral moments every single night. So what if the Australia shows aren't just a tour finale? What if they're the launch pad for whatever comes next? What if that's why the producers were at Electric Lady in November? To finish something that debuts in Australia?
My mind is racing right now. All right, so obviously I'm not the only one spiraling over all of this. Let me show y'all how the fans are reacting because, honey, the internet is in shambles right now. The believers. Something's coming. Over on Reddit's r/Kendrick Lamar, the reactions were immediate. One user posted, GNX touring ends on December 11th, which lines up with the fourth quarter. If he were to drop new music, it would be after the tour concludes. Another wrote, I feel something special is coming very soon. That's directly under the Electric Lady Studios post. On Instagram, fans were tagging friends like, bro, if Kendrick drops a deluxe on the anniversary, I'm going to lose it. And on this X, someone said, Dave Free posting calm is the opposite of calming. That man knows something we don't. The general vibe from the believers, pure, unfiltered anticipation. They're convinced something's happening and they're refreshing Kendrick's socials every 5 minutes waiting for confirmation. The skeptics, y'all are delusional. On the other hand, there's a vocal group of skeptics who think fans are reading way too much into this. One Reddit user said, he probably was in a hot tub enjoying himself and decided to post calm because that's how he felt. That comment got over 1,200 upvotes, by the way. Another fan commented, the studio photo is probably just a throwback. You'll act like artists can't post old pictures. Someone else wrote, Kendrick literally just finished a Super Bowl performance and has been on tour for months. Let the man rest. Not everything is a rollout. And you know what? They have a point. Artists do deserve breaks. Not every social media post is a coded message. But here's the thing. The middle ground. It's Kendrick. Anything's possible. There's a third group, probably the majority, who are somewhere in between. They're not fully convinced something's dropping, but they're also not ruling it out. One fan wrote, look, I'm not saying he's definitely dropping something, but I'm also not saying he's not dropping something. It's Kendrick. He could announce a new album tomorrow or disappear for 3 years. Both are equally possible. Another said, the studio photo is interesting. The timing is interesting. Dave's post is interesting. But until Kendrick or PG Lang officially says anything, I'm just cautiously optimistic. And honestly, that's probably where most of us are, right? We've been burned by speculation before. We've convinced ourselves albums were dropping based on evidence that turned out to be nothing. But at the same time, haven't we all learned that with Kendrick, the craziest theories sometimes end up being true? I mean, come on. We're talking about the man who surprise dropped an entire diss track arsenal in the middle of the Drake beef. Nothing is off the table. Now, let's talk about the producers themselves for a minute, because understanding who these men are helps us understand why their reunion matters. Sounwave, the day one collaborator. Mark Soundwave Spears has been working with Kendrick since the very beginning. We're talking Section 80 days. He's credited on damn near every Kendrick album. He's not just a producer. He's part of Kendrick's core creative DNA. According to a Grammy.com article, Soundwave was instrumental in creating multiple versions of King Kunta for To Pimp a Butterfly. The man doesn't just make beats, he helps shape entire albums. So when Soundwave shows up at Electric Lady Studios in November 2025, that's not casual. That's business. Terrace Martin, the jazz visionary. Terrace Martin is the guy who brings that jazz influence to Kendrick's sound. He's worked on To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, and multiple other Kendrick projects. And he's also an acclaimed artist in his own right. Back in June 2024, Terrace actually hopped on Instagram Live and said, allegedly, according to Hypebeast, that Kendrick was back in the studio working on new music. June 2024. That's before GNX dropped, which means what was he working on? Was it GNX? Or was it something else? If Terrace was talking about new Kendrick music in June 2024 and then shows up at Electric at Lady in November 2025, that's a 17-month span. That's enough time to create an entire new project. Mustard, the hitmaker. Mustard is the newest addition to Kendrick's core producer team, but he made an impact. He produced Not Like Us, arguably the biggest song of Kendrick's career in terms of cultural moment. In October, 2024 Billboard interview, Mustard talked about his relationship with Kendrick and how Not Like Us came together. He described the process as organic and said, working with Kendrick was unlike anything he had experienced. Now, Mustard's presence at Electric Lady is significant because he represents the new sound Kendrick's been exploring, the more aggressive, West Coast heavy, trunk-rattling production. If Kendrick is working on new material with Mustard involved, you can bet it's going to have that same energy, that same bite. The industry insiders weigh in. I also want to mention that several hip-hop journalists and commentators have been picking up on this story. According to YouTube channels that cover hip-hop news, channels like the Hip Hop Wolf and others, there's been chatter within industry circles about Kendrick having something big planned before the end of 2025. Some podcasters have mentioned hearing rumors, again, rumors, not confirmed, facts, that PG Lang has been moving very quietly but very deliberately for months. Now, I can't verify any of this firsthand. I'm not claiming to have insider sources or secret information, but when multiple independent commentators start noticing the same patterns, when fans, producers, and media all start connecting similar dots, there's usually fire where there's smoke.
Okay, let's get methodical here. Let me lay out all the receipts, the actual verifiable evidence in chronological order so we can see the full picture. Timeline of verified events. November 22nd, 2024. Kendrick surprise releases GNX. No warning, no promotion, just drops at midnight. December 17th, 2024, Money Without Me appears on Kendrick's YouTube channel. Fans speculate it's a leftover GNX track or hint at a deluxe. May 2025. According to comments on the Electric Lady Studios post, Kendrick was allegedly spotted outside the studio around this time. September 2025. Dave Free gives an interview where he states his favorite music right now is unreleased Baby Keem material. November 20th, 2025, Electric Lady Studios posts photo of Terrace Martin, Sounwave, and Mustard together, tagged with Kendrick Lamar, GNX. November 21st, 2025, Dave Free posts Calm on Threads, one day before GNX anniversary. November 22nd, 2025, GNX hits its one-year anniversary. The album has sold over 1 million units in 2025. November 22nd, 2025, also on this date, Paramount Pictures indefinitely delays the Kendrick Lamar, Dave Free, and South Park creators comedy film, originally scheduled for March 2026, now removed from calendar entirely. December 3rd to 11th, 2025, upcoming Kendrick's Grand National Tour concludes with 4 shows in Australia. Now, look at that timeline. Notice anything? There's a buildup, there's momentum, and it all points toward December. The photo evidence. Let's go back to that Electric Lady Studios photo for a second. I want y'all to really look at it. The 3 producers are standing together, looking relaxed but focused. The setting is clearly inside the studio. The lighting has that warm, creative vibe that Electric Lady is known for, and the caption directly tags Kendrick and GNX. Now, what's not in the photo is just as important as what is in the photo. There's no Kendrick visible, no album announcement, no obvious indication of what they were there doing. But here's what we do know. Electric Lady doesn't just let random people take photos and post them to their official account. When they post artist content, it's usually because something is happening or has happened there. Social media reactions. Quantified. I went through the comments and reactions to these posts, and here are the numbers. The Electric Lady Studios post has thousands of comments, with the majority speculating about new music. Dave Free's Calm post was screenshotted and shared across X, Reddit, and Instagram, generating hundreds of discussion threads. The hashtag GNX Deluxe has been trending periodically since 2024. YouTube videos analyzing the exclusive have collectively garnered hundreds of thousands of views in just the past week. So the demand is there, the anticipation is there, and whether or not Kendrick is actually planning something, the audience is ready for it. The film delay, a suspicious coincidence. Now, here's something that hasn't gotten as much attention, but is extremely interesting. The timing of the Paramount film delay.
On November 22nd, 2025, the same day as GNX anniversary, Variety reported that Paramount Pictures removed Kendrick and Dave Free's untitled comedy film from its release calendar. The movie, which was being made with South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone, was supposed to come out in March 2026. Now what? It's indefinitely delayed. Now, this could be completely unrelated to music. Film delays happen for all kinds of reasons. Creative differences, budget issues, scheduling conflicts. But isn't it interesting that Dave Free, who is co-producing that film, is suddenly active again on social media, posting cryptic messages and appearing to be focused on music projects as the film gets delayed? What if, and this is pure speculation, what if the film was delayed because Dave and Kendrick need to focus on a major music rollout? What if they decided the timing wasn't right to be promoting a comedy film when they're about to drop something massive in the music world? I mean, I don't know, but the timing is suspicious.
All right, so let's zoom out for a minute and talk about why all of this matters. Beyond just new music maybe coming, Kendrick's rollout strategy is controlled chaos. If you look at Kendrick's entire career, there's a clear pattern to how he operates. He doesn't do traditional rollouts. He doesn't announce release dates months in advance. He doesn't play by industry rules. Think about it. Untitled Unmastered dropped as a surprise in 2016. Damn had a cryptic rollout with minimal advance notice. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was announced only weeks before release. GNX dropped with zero warning. Kendrick's team, particularly Dave Free, has mastered the art of controlled chaos. They keep fans guessing, they move in silence, and then they strike when no one expects it. So when we see Dave posting calm, when we see producers reuniting at iconic studios, when we see this carefully orchestrated series of hints, that's not accidental. That's the system. The PG Lang philosophy, art over commerce. When Kendrick and Dave founded it, they specifically designed it to prioritize artistic vision over commercial pressure. They don't drop music because it's time to drop music. They don't tour because contracts say they have to. They create when the art demands it. So if Kendrick and the producers are back in the studio, if something is brewing, it's not because they need to capitalize on GNX's execs. It's because Kendrick has something more to say. The Australia strategy ending where it began. There's also something poetic about ending the Grand National Tour in Australia. Kendrick last performed there in 2022 during a pivotal moment in his career, right after Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers challenged fans and critics alike. Australia has always been a market that embraced Kendrick early. Australian fans were streaming Good Kid, Mad City before he blew up globally. They've been loyal from the jump. So choosing to end this entire tour era there and potentially launch something new there would be Kendrick's way of honoring that loyalty. It's strategic, it's symbolic, and it's very much in line with how KG Lang operates. Every decision has layers.